Welcome to the... Welcome to Everyone's a Critic movie review podcast. I'm your co-host, Bob Zerl.
What would you do if you had $1 million?
I'll tell you what I'd do, man. 2 chicks at the same time, man.
With me, as always, is professional film critic Sean Patrick.
I am the smart. I am the smart. S-M-R-T. I mean S-M-A-R-R-T.
And Josh Adams.
My wife, she is pain in my asshole.
Every time I push that, I feel like you're saying it like right next to me.
That'll be a short-lived clip, I think. Start coming up with my new one real quick.
Visit us at IHateCritics.net. We're also on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Our handles there is CriticsPod. Follow us there for trailers, 30-year-old movies, Sean's reviews, and other interactions. IHateCritics.net also has a tab where you can buy our podcast merch if you click on that. Or if you want to be a supporter, there's a PayPal link and a Patreon link. IHateCritics.net/Patreon is the best way to help support the podcast. You get a credit on the show. We'll read the credits at the end. And you get selected merch and et cetera, et cetera. Just go to there to find out what it all entails. And then Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher. Listen to us. Subscribe to the show. Rate and review the show. Tell your friends about the show. Helps grow the podcast. And if you do subscribe and rate and review the show, that does help us out among all the algorithms out there to have our show being noticed amongst the millions of podcasts that exist. This week, the big games that we're calling it. The bowl that is super. Can we say it backwards?
Intended to be.
The letdown bowl.
Yeah.
On more than one level. Normally a bunch of movie trailers come out every year, and this year we had a bunch of teasers, I guess. At least that's what it seemed to me. Tell me if I'm wrong, but the first one, Avengers Endgame, was the one I saw. Thoughts?
I liked it. I was impressed. I really did. I mean, it's not much there, but I mean, for what was, I mean, I like the fact that they're not revealing too much. I thought they showed just enough to keep it intriguing.
You like they didn't show the dead characters?
Yes.
Well, they kind of did. I mean, the title dusted away. Oh, no, I'm just kidding. But the idea, as I understand it, for marketing is to only show clips from trailers that are in the first 15 minutes of the film, which is that's slim pickings when it comes to dissecting something for a trailer. So being able to do what they did here, 15, 30 seconds, whatever the case may be, I thought it was pretty impressive. Gives you a particularly dark tone, and what I saw a lot was people getting excited about Captain America strapping his shield on again. So, yay! Hawkeye was in it again, so...
Dorks. I don't know. I mean, I guess for a comic book movie trailer it was good, but I just don't care. I wish my kid didn't care because I'm ready to be done.
It's Endgame. You could probably check out after Endgame.
I'm hoping I can.
Yeah, I mean, you're 21, almost 22 films in now for this whole Marvel thing.
I haven't seen them all.
Yeah, okay.
I haven't seen Doctor Strange. He's seen that like 15 times. I think that's the only one I haven't seen, to be honest.
You're not missing anything, at least in my mind. But, I mean, now you can be done with it after this.
It might be. Captain Marvel, the other trailer.
Loved it. She's going to be fantastic. Can't wait to see it.
That pretty much echoes my sentiments. Although I did hear this week that, it was just today actually, that Keanu Reeves had a role in this movie, but John Wick Chapter 3 happened, and so he decided not to take that role. I'm going to be trying to pick out what part Keanu Reeves would have had in this film. I can't imagine that Jude Law, that would have been his role, or for that matter, Ben Mendelsohn. So I'm curious. Well, because those two actors
wasn't Ben
are...
Mendelsohn. It might have been Jude Law.
I don't know. He just... doesn't seem to be a good opposite of Brie Larson, So I'm wondering in the movie what he could have been.
Yeah, it's the same as the Avengers one. I don't care. I'll still probably see it because my son really wants to see it, and we do a podcast about movies, so that helps too. But I'm burnt out, and I'm turning into Bill Maher. I don't know if you've seen, other than not the racist things this week, not that, but he's been. When Stan Lee died, he's just been constantly trolling all these comic book geeks. And I'm not that bad, but it's still, I'm just kind of, I don't totally disagree with everything he's saying. Hobbs and Shaw.
Yeah, again, I loved it. I love Fast and the Furious. And I love these two characters together. Idris Elba's awesome. So, yeah, I'm all in for that.
What is his thing, though? That's what I'm trying to understand. Is he some sort of super soldier in this? Because he's got some sort of he's got some sort of suit on that seems to be a super suit in a way. I enjoyed the stunt in the film that they showed with the car going under the semi. I thought that was really neat. In terms of outlandish things that you might see, that this film series seems to want to continue to surprise us with. That's kind of neat. But I couldn't possibly want to see this any less. I mean, I would have to see everything else, and that just sounds like a lot of work for a little return on.
I'm not sure you need to see everything else. I mean, maybe you do, but from the trailer it looked like they will. Okay. But the trailer to me was just, I mean, part of me was like, are they even trying anymore? I mean, it just seemed like they were goofing around, and
that's the whole point of it.
But that's the whole point franchise. Of Adam Sandler's whole career, and we shit on him for that. This is the Happy Madison of action movies.
He's uninspired, where this is continuously inspired, and it's not hateful. It's joyous.
Interesting.
Looks like the Happy Madison for action movies. To me.
If one thing was going to be that and not be from the 80s, I don't have another example, so I would have to at least align with you slightly now, but it's not fair to me to offer many more opinions other than a bias towards it because I haven't seen them.
Well, yeah, I'm not saying what I'm doing is fair. I'm just doing it. Scary stories to tell in the dark. It's not really much of a trailer either.
Really, there's not much really to say about it.
This is something that, as I understood, existed before Goosebumps. At least that's how I remember it, too. The precursor to R.L. Stine was this. And an audience member in the room with me was saying, yeah, I remember that very much from when I was a kid, but I'm not sure about kids now. Like, they still have access to this story, obviously, but I think Goosebumps is still in the ether for them, whereas this is out of left field. It's going to be like the I Know What You Did Last Summer to the Scream of the time, if, you would consider that market to be similar.
I watched it with a 7-year-old who ran out of the room when she saw it, and yeah, she's not going to see that.
Aha!
See, I was wondering if this is more like a scarier version of Goosebumps, almost. I don't know how to compare it. Maybe a house with a clock in its walls compared to the Goosebumps, like maybe, but even scarier than that, I thought.
Yeah, because this has got like body horror in it. I don't imagine this is even. I didn't even imagine it as a kids movie.
Well, it definitely was available to us in grade school to read, so it really depends on how serious they are going to interpret that info. The font gives me an indication that it's going to be more of like having whatever eye of marketing that I do, who they're trying to aim for. I would say 10 to 12 or 11 to 13, something like that. In all seriousness,
with her, the way she's pulling a bug out of her face.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I could. That's Yeah, I don't.
These kids are getting on Fortnite and blowing each other away. So I don't know what's a bug coming out of your face.
Yeah, I mean, my wife has always been a fan of this book or whatever, so we have it here somewhere. I don't know.
So you gotta go see it.
Maybe, depending on what else comes out that week. I think Guillermo del Toro was somehow involved with it.
Yes, that's right.
So, I mean, that alone gives me a little bit of... I mean, he considers Pan's Labyrinth a kid's movie, so I'm good with that. And he's not wrong. I mean, there's lessons to be learned. A little scary, but...
It is rated R.
Well, yeah, I know. But he did say that there's nothing wrong with kids seeing it. And then Toy Story 4.
Awesome, as usual. They're doing a hell of a job. I really loved that trailer, and Buzz Lightyear did a fantastic job in the trailer. And yeah, I'm a fan. I'm on board. Key and Peele look great.
Nothing has changed since the announcement of this movie, the first teaser trailer. I'll be there as soon as possible. The idea of Key and Peele being in it raises the bar just a little bit higher. They've got a moment right now, past number of years actually. They're still experiencing a moment. And at first I never appreciated it because Keegan-Michael Key was he was on Blue's Clues, if I'm not mistaken. He was the host of Blue's Clues for a while.
I didn't know that.
Yes, you'll have to look it up. And so I remember him from that before he started to get more famous on Comedy Central and whatnot. So I always kind of saw it as, oh, this guy does kid stuff. It can't possibly be like my kind of humor. No, that's what happens. It's kind of like Bob Saget taking a few years off for Full House.
Yeah, I even if this is a step down from Toy Story 3, that's such a good movie that a step down is not a big deal. But I know they take care of this particular franchise more than the other ones, so I'm sure they're gonna knock this one out of the park. All right, any other trailers that we missed? Apparently there was a trailer for Us that none of us saw.
Yeah, I did hear about it, but it must have been a pre-game trailer.
All right. In terms of new movies, we got one.
Yeah.
Miss Bala?
Miss Bala.
Any good?
It stars Gina Rodriguez. She plays a Hollywood makeup artist who's traveling to Tijuana to help her friend who's entering a beauty contest, and she's going to be her makeup artist for it. And they go out to a nightclub the night before to meet with people who are influential in that world, and while they're there, drug dealers attack and start killing people, and people are starting to take hostages, and they end up separated. She ends up, captured by the drug dealers. The other one ends up getting captured by corrupt cops who try to sell her into slavery, and she's trying to get back to her friend. And along the way, she's going to get picked up by the DEA as well. So she becomes kind of within the span of 2 days, there's both a drug mule and an informant. Very quickly, and this movie happens so fast in terms of just the way it develops the story that you can't really invest in anything. I like Gina Rodriguez a lot. She's a great actress, and she does a fine job here. But there's just nothing. There's no arc. She was a good person when it started. She's a good person at the end. She's a little bit tougher because she can use a gun, but really nothing much changes. And they don't do a good job of establishing her arc, being not tough at the beginning and tough at the end. And I don't even know what happened at the end. Honestly, I don't know where her character is actually headed at the end of this movie because it's kind of weird how they play it. This is directed by Catherine Hardwicke, who's this is not. I don't know if this is the kind of thing that's really her type of material. I don't know. I don't really get what anybody wanted out of this movie. There's already a version of this movie that's actually pretty good. It was the Mexican original. It was made in 2011. I don't know why make it again. There was really no real reason to make it again. Other than it being in English, there's really nothing American about it. So why try to Americanize it?
I feel like we ask that question a lot.
Yeah.
It's still set in Tijuana. They just speak English instead of Spanish. It's silly. It was a silly remake, a silly idea to remake this. I don't know. It didn't do very well this weekend. It didn't deserve to do very well. It's not that it's terribly bad. It's just not very good.
Well, in fairness, nothing really did well except Kind of Glass. Brought in just under 10 million. Upside brought in almost 9. Serenity made another $1 million.
By word of mouth.
There's still those people out there who don't have the internet, so.
They're like, I don't want to watch Super Bowl. What's in the theater? Oh, Matthew McConaughey and Anne Hathaway have a movie. Let's go see it. Oh, it's about video games. Josh told me the end of the movie last week. I did not go see it. Because of that, we decided to do a streaming challenge, and this time I think nobody's watched each other's movies other than I think I saw Sean's movie.
Yeah, it would seem that way.
Let's just go ahead and start with the Fyre documentary because it kind of seems like it could go hand in hand with Miss Bala if you really wanted it, or Bala.
There are moments of this documentary where it feels like an action movie or maybe a found footage horror film. The story goes that in 2017, Ja Rule and this other guy, McDowell, Billy.
Let's call him Billy.
They tried to get this. They came up with this idea for a festival that they were going to do on this island, and they had the ability to market it very well. They went out and hired a bunch of models to hang around on yachts and in this beautiful blue water. Then immediately they just set about their series of mistakes. The island that they're on, that they claimed to have bought and didn't, belonged to the family of Pablo Escobar, and all that they asked for the use of this island was a few $1,000,000 and don't say it's Pablo Escobar's island. And immediately, the first commercial, Pablo Escobar's private island, is in the commercial.
And by commercial, he means Instagram.
Yeah.
Because they just basically hire influencers
video
to share videos. And that was the very first one. Put his name in it.
So they just right off the bat, they make this huge mistake. So they set about trying to make this happen, but they get kicked off of their island, of course, because they broke the rules. They got to go find a new island. They find a new island, only the island that they find is the most busy island they could possibly find, especially for the weekend that they're aiming for, because it happens to be that the busiest time on that island for that weekend. So there's no place to stay. They have a site that is just ugly, not even remotely what they promised. No electricity, no internet. It gets so much worse. It's just, that sounds bad enough. About they're putting up these gorgeous videos. They've got this PR team that is just posting these fabulous videos of what you'll get for your $10,000 or $15,000 investment in going to this. Because they're going to fly you down, and you're going to get to party with models and celebrities, and sleep on yachts or in these luxury tents that they have. Well, they
weren't calling them tents. They were calling them, what were they calling them? Like villas. Luxury villas. They were tents.
They were tents. Not only, but they showed them, though. They showed them these beautiful geodesic domes, and they got these really gorgeous beds inside, very soft, these beautiful pillows, flowers. And what you get when you get there is rejected FEMA tents.
Right.
Oh. They were literally like the ones that they didn't need for the hurricane victims. They used for this concert.
And they need all the tents, too, so they're really rejected.
They just had mattresses on the ground. And the mattresses the night before got soaked in a monsoon. The night before the people started arriving.
Which was the only fit of bad luck that they had. Everything else they created. That was the only thing that was bad luck for them. Everything else was their fault.
Everything else, entirely their fault. They totally screwed this up. They the guy that they had booking the artists had never booked artists before in his life. He was 22 years old. He had zero connections to the industry and overpaid desperately for acts that were not that impressive.
They
got Blink 182.
Blink 182. They had a couple headliners that were mildly impressive.
Migos.
But
they desperately overpaid.
Well, they didn't overpay. They overquoted. They never paid anything.
Oh, that's right.
Because before the weekend hit, Blink 182 dropped off, and then from there it was a snowball, and everybody dropped off with Ja Rule.
So all these people start to arrive, and they're expecting thousands of people to come out for the show. They're flying them down there. They take them to. They're not even to take them to the site at first. They drop them off at this restaurant. There's chaos. There's absolutely nobody there to tell anybody where to go.
They didn't tell the restaurant they were going.
Yeah, the restaurant didn't know these people were coming. Then they put them on school buses. Again, luxury. This was the $10,000 to $15,000 you paid for this, and they brought them to the site. And you just see this horror show as they realize this is a gravel pit. We can barely see this. We can barely see the beach that they promised. It's well in the distance. Chain link fences. Nothing's finished.
They're FEMA tents.
They're FEMA tents. It is just absolutely awful. But the best part of this, Josh, and you have no idea right now?
No.
The concert never happened.
Oh, John didn't even play?
John was never even on the schedule.
Oh.
He was just an investor and like a backer for it. The concert was canceled, and they stranded the entire audience.
Because there's no way to get out. One of the funny parts was while they took up the headquarters was kind of there, not far away, so everybody kind of ran to the headquarters like, where we go? Where's my villa? What am I? He just walks out. Billy, the main guy, find a tent.
Find a tent.
So then they all hell breaks loose. People are grabbing 15 mattresses. Other people are grabbing tents, and they essentially tear down the little village.
Yeah.
But on top of all of this, there was so much more behind where this even started.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, and that's all. I mean, Billy is in jail right now. I mean, let's just say that.
He's not yet in jail, is he? I don't think he's yet in jail.
He's right. He hasn't gone to prison.
He's been sentenced to 6 years, but he's not in jail yet.
He hasn't been. Yeah, he's been sentenced. He hasn't gone to prison yet.
But he came back and was basically going to be put in jail. And while on bail, he started a whole new scam. He started a whole new scam. So he's telling people that he's living in his parents' basement. But then for some fucking moronic reason, he invites a camera crew over to this penthouse that he's staying in and has them film him literally starting another scam. He's hired a dude to front for him and he starts sending out emails to the very people he ripped off the first time, who were on the who attended the Fyre Festival, sending them things like, hey, here's a ticket offer to go to the Met Gala. Well, here's the thing. There are no tickets to the Met Gala. You're invited personally by the person who puts it on.
Even I knew that one from movies, man.
It's amazing. Like, it's so brazen.
I had to rewind because did I miss something? He was supposed to be in his parents' basement. I didn't. It didn't hit me where it happened. And the way he advertised was from influencers. He had these people who were big on social media to get them to share stuff. They didn't know what they were sharing.
Right.
So this also changed some social media laws, which is kind of a good thing. If anytime you see a celebrity plugging something online, they have to say if they're being paid or not.
Hashtag sponsored.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And only one of the models actually did that, so several of the models are actually on their own lawsuit. As they're being sued for influencing people into going to this thing. None of the celebrities actually showed up. The influencers, in quotations, showed up, and they were just all pissed off and sending back pictures. But the one that went viral for a short time was they had this promise. They promised these people this gourmet layout of food. I mean, it was just incredible layout of food.
Just like the president offers teams that win championships.
This was better
this
than
was
that.
high-end 5-star food that they were going to offer them.
Okay.
The day before they arrive, that guy cancels. They cancel he fires
Billy fired him.
Yeah, because they didn't want to pay him. So they had to scramble, and at the last minute they found somebody who was willing to do it. So they hand him out these styrofoam containers with cheese sandwiches inside. $10,000 you paid for this luxury experience to stay in a gravel pit in a tent and eat a cheese sandwich.
And even though it was canceled, they couldn't refund the money because the reason they didn't cancel sooner because he didn't have the money. He needed it to happen in order to truly get paid, and it just he had everybody who worked for him was telling him, "You need to cancel this. This is not going to work." And he's like, "No, we'll be fine." Mm-hmm. He had a whole team of locals trying to make it work. Didn't pay any of them anything because he had no money.
And we're just scratching the surface on this.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, because really there is so much more in this documentary than what we're mentioning. Like, the interviews are so telling and they're so fantastic. The group of people that they gathered for this, and they didn't even talk to Billy or Ja Rule. They talked to all the people that were employed by them who are now telling the story, and they tell the story brilliantly.
And I don't know if you've seen the documentary Overnight, but his main problem was he carried a camera around everywhere and filmed all the behind-the-scenes footage. That's what happened here. He just had a film crew with him the whole time. And, I mean, he's in the movie a ton. Hulu has another documentary where Billy's a big part of it.
Right, but they paid him.
Oh, yeah, they paid him
$200,000
or something like that. But, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, fuck you, Hulu, for helping keeping this asshole out of jail.
That's a nightmare. I mean, how could you go through something, as a human being, go through something that vile and know that you didn't have it, but still started to do it? Like, I mean, I get nervous if a son's birthday party doesn't have, like, the right meatballs involved, you know?
This guy's been doing this for years. His first thing was this high-end credit card that was members only, and it was all this New York. It was a full New York experience, but you had to be a member, and you had to pay him to be a member. And then you got the high-end credit card, and it was ripping. It was a scam. It was a rip-off like everything else he did.
It sounds like Entertainment 720 from Parks and Rec with Tom Haverford.
Everybody's been comparing this guy to John Ralphio.
Okay.
That has been a great meme, is comparing this guy to John Ralphio.
Entertainment 720. We go around the world for you twice.
What it does do is kind of let Ja Rule off the hook a little bit.
I mean, at the end, he comes off like an asshole.
Oh, he comes off like a dumbass more than anything.
It wasn't fraud. It was false advertising.
Oh.
Oh, man, that footage is amazing, and it needs to be seen. That meeting that they have is fantastic. That was a great piece of journalism in documentary form. I really loved that. The other aspect of this that's so interesting is the level of Schadenfreude that is just so beautiful, because it's like you're watching these two people with way too much money get the kind of experience that we might get at a band festival. It's nice. I mean, I can't help but kind of enjoy it just a little bit, seeing these influencers get stuck in tents and Instagramming and whining about, where's my food? Where's my luxury tent?
It's one of the most fun movies I've ever seen. And, I mean, it goes back to the whole Rob Zombie thing. You don't have to have likable characters to make your movie good.
Well, there's a couple likable people in there.
They weren't main characters.
Is Schadenfreude the brother or sibling of Sigmund Freud?
It's the enjoyment of other people's torment.
Of course. I came up with that joke earlier in the week. Couldn't wait to use it again. Luckily,
of course, only the Germans would have a word for that.
Of course. Blitzkrieg or something.
But I highly recommend this because, I mean, I guess we've done a little more than scratch the surface, but still, it's kind of like that Tickle documentary where you just start watching it and you're just like, oh, okay, it's going, oh, Jesus.
And it's exceptional in its journalism and its construction. There's so much more for you to enjoy from what we've described.
Yeah, so if you've seen Tickled or Overnight or anything like that, you'll definitely love this documentary. And if you haven't, see all three of them. But this one's readily available on Netflix.
Nothing I like more than feeling uncomfortable for a couple hours.
I don't know if I'd say uncomfortable. It's kind of like, fuck these guys.
Okay, I got that.
I mean, he is a sociopath. I mean,
clearly.
So, I mean, I suppose if you could watch the Dahmer one instead, or not Dahmer, Ted Bundy, that one. But I'd go with this one over the Bundy one.
Absolutely, yeah.
Who wants to go next? Me or Josh? You tell me.
Go ahead, Josh.
I don't know what yours is.
Oh, the house that Jack built.
Oh, that's right.
I think you should go, Josh. I want to hear about his last.
Okay. Mine is called Hold the Dark, and this is on Netflix, produced and distributed by Netflix. And it's a film that's directed by Jeremy Saulnier. I think I'm saying that name right. But he is the director of Blue Ruin and Green Room, two movies that have been pretty lauded on this show. Blue Ruin just missed my top 10 of that particular year that I saw that, and that was just a wonderful surprise. And what I remembered in watching this is how we talked about his mood setting in both of those films. And they're dour, but they've got a particular style to the dour. The Green Room is set in pretty much one place, but it seems so cavernous because of the way that he films it. This is much like that. It's set in the Alaskan wilderness. The startup to the story is that a little boy has been carried away by wolves, and we assume, of course, that he's dead then. And so the mother calls a writer, or sends a letter to a writer played by Jeffrey Wright. He is a guy that has discussed hunting wolves before and finding specific wolves. So she believes that if nothing else, he is going to help her find the boy's body. After all, he's been able to pinpoint certain wolves before. And the husband, or the father of the child, is away in Operation Iraqi Freedom or in Afghanistan, what have you. They're not clear on that in the film. He's played by Alexander Skarsgård. And so she wants to make sure that there's a body for him to come home to. Now, we think that this is going to just be kind of like a wilderness tale akin to, The Edge or The Revenant or something along those lines based on the first 20 minutes of the movie. But you cannot possibly prepare yourself for what is about to come. This gets into the mysticism behind the Alaskan wilderness and the native peoples and all of the things that they believe in, including religious things, witchcraft, brotherhoods, etc., etc. Then there's the army brotherhood part of it, which Alexander Skarsgård seems to have he's got a pal in his hometown, so when he returns, those two are lockstep, and they will do almost anything, and you will see what they will do to make sure that the body is handled correctly. There's something else going on in this movie that is definitely supernatural in the way that it's filmed, but it's not overt as to whether or not it actually happened the way that the film is showing you. I was reminded of many films like The Witch, for example. The Revenant, for obvious reasons, not just because there's snow and wild animals, but just in the way that in The Revenant you felt like, as the character, it's kind of hopeless out here. It's dour. Nothing is going to get better here. I'm dead. And then a couple of scenes in this are so intense. Jeffrey Wright has fallen, and all in that noise of him falling triggers this pack of wolves that he's been hunting. And the wolves come and find him, and he has to get his rifle, which he left up on the hill, back just in time to intimidate the wolves. There's a lot of excellent filmmaking going on in this one, and it's a simple story, okay? I'm aggrandizing it quite a bit by saying things like supernatural and tone, et cetera, but it's a pretty simple story. It's just how moody it is that really hooks me. And I highly recommend this. I can't believe, considering what he's released already, that this didn't get a better release than Netflix. That's not to say that Netflix is where things go to die. It just seems like this deserved to be up on the big screen. Or at highly recommended.
Yeah, because I don't know his name, because I'm not good with names like you guys are, but I'm a big fan of his. I mean, my brother showed me Murder Party way back in like 2007, which is like his first movie.
Oh, he's got another. Oh.
It's been on Netflix. I don't know if it is right now, but it's been on there a lot. It's a small indie movie, but I had a lot of fun with that one. Obviously, Green Room's amazing. Blue Ruin's great. He's done 2 episodes of True Detective this year. And I didn't know this existed. So, I mean, I would have been all over this one had I known it was out there. And I wish it was more, even if it's on Netflix, put it in a Bird Box slot or something like that instead of...
It doesn't even... I know you're saying
In
because
terms
of
of
popularity,
popularity.
but boy, this movie had... you could fit 7 Bird Boxes in here and still not come away with some... It's probably the best movie that I've seen streaming from Netflix up until this point. Can't possibly recommend it more.
I can't wait to see it because, Saulnier is amazing. He's... Green Room was one of the best movies of the year it was released, and honestly, it only gets better the more I think about it.
You'll see some alumni from his previous films, including the main character from Blue Ruin. I was hoping that he would make an appearance, and he does. There's just some real shocking things in this movie, some really gory things, very intense. I can't wait for both of you to see it.
Bob's dreaming of it right now.
Yeah,
Well, it sounds like
we're thinking about offering him a napkin because of the drool.
It sounds like he's segueing into my movie.
Maybe I am.
Which is the most fucked up movie I've seen in a long time.
Really?
Yeah, the house that Jack built, Lars von Trier, popular fuck up. I don't know, whatever you want to, asshole, whatever you want to call him, but he's also an artist in his own right. It was banned from Cannes,
Right.
but this is there. It went there anyway. Part of me feels like this movie, and I'll get into the movie a little bit. There's only so much I can say because there's a lot of spoilers in it. But part of me feels like he's addressing why he was banned because Hitler's in this movie at times. But basically, Matt Dillon plays Jack. He is a serial killer, and he's having a conversation with somebody named Verge, and I can't really tell you who that is because it's a spoiler. You're an idiot if you don't have an idea of what it is from Jump Street, but it actually means something when you find out who he is. If you know some, I don't know. This movie has so many references in it. It's almost to the point where he's not even trying to make a point. He's just being like, reference here, reference there. He contradicts points he's making with references. But anyway, Jack is telling the story of 5 different incidents. That's what he calls his murders. He has way more than 5, but he only tells you about 5 of them. And they get more and more fucked up, almost to the point of humor at one point. After the 3rd killing, he does something to one of the victims that is so messed up, but it's so funny. And it just keeps popping up in the background the rest of the movie. And I want to say what it is, but you really have to see the movie to get it. I don't want to spoil it. But, I mean, but at the same time, it's not, I don't know. This is why I'm bad at talking about movies, because I'm just saying it's messed up over and over again. But basically,
telling a story. I've got some visuals going on in my head.
It's just broken up into 5 parts plus this other backstory that's going on with this conversation with Verge. And the first incident involves Uma Thurman. She plays a woman stranded, and he helps her for quite a while, but she keeps annoying him, and that's kind of where it all kicks off. At one point, he's trying to find love, but he's doing it by faking empathy. He takes a family hunting. I don't know. There's just some... It's really hard to go into. I haven't seen Antichrist, but I've seen most of everything else Lars von Trier has done. Antichrist sounds a little more fucked up than this, but this one's pretty... What he does to one of the... To really all the victims it's messed up, but it's intriguing. It's not doing... Rotten Tomatoes is at 40-50%, but there's part of this where Lars von Trier is saying fuck you to the audience too. There's definitely an element of that here too, where he's aware of what you're thinking, so he's going to try to piss you off, and that appeals to me. I mean, it's intentional, it's not unintentional. But at the same time, it's not Mandy, where it's not as complete fun as that is. Because this one is really messed up. I mean, there's nothing redeeming about anything in this movie, but it doesn't need it. You know, I don't think I will have to defend this like I will a Rob Zombie movie to Sean, because it does go a certain direction that I think Sean will appreciate it. I think Josh might be like, I'll never have to watch this again. But he might like it. It's hard to say.
I've seen a couple of his movies, so I kind of get the idea of what would take place.
Now, this is like almost 3 hours long, right?
2.5.
2.5.
But it doesn't feel
how's
like
the pace? Yeah, that was one.
I don't know if the pace is great, but and that's been some of the criticism, is that it's hard to watch and you kind of feel like it's pointless. But I found it pretty easy to watch, and I didn't find it pointless. I mean, I just find it intriguing. I liked the way he was fucking with the audience.
Was he lingering on the violence?
No, not so much on the violence. He was lingering on some of the intense moments, but some of it. It's just so sudden and more realistic that he doesn't linger there. It's more of a quick do it and be done with. I mean, you see in the trailer what he does to Uma Thurman. And that it's just very quick and move on. And I mean, as a killer, because he's a sociopath and because he's a psychopath and he has no empathy. He also has OCD. So at one point he can never clean up a murder scene good enough. So even when the cops are coming, he has to go back in and make sure that something. I don't know. There's a lot here. There's a really cool metaphor and analogy that I was thinking it when they kind of they don't call bullshit on it, but they call bullshit on what he's trying to say, where there's two street lamps, and as he walks underneath it, the shadow in front of him is the joy he feels from doing this. Then as he walks further, a shadow behind him comes up, which is the guilt and what makes him feel bad. And the shadow in front of him gradually gets smaller until he gets to the second street light, where the guilt and the shame is huge and the pleasure is gone. So he has to do it again to get the pleasure. I mean, basically he describes an addiction, but it was just kind of a neat little scene that they do there. But it's not for everybody. My wife watched it with me. She liked it just fine. I mean, I don't know if "likes" the word, but she didn't have a problem with it per se. But it's definitely a messed up movie. And if Eli Roth would make it, I think Sean would say he hates females. This one, Lars von Trier, up until here, the main character has largely been female. So this is kind of the first time. I don't know if it's the first time in a while that the main character was a male for him. So I don't think he truly hates females. But he did say, I watched an interview with Matt Dillon afterwards where he felt this character was the most like him, which kind of makes me think, it made me think of A Clockwork Orange a lot, where Kubrick was a lot like Alex, or he liked the character Alex so much. So in a way, if you kind of put these movies side by side, it's more of you can see the director in these characters, even though they're doing horrible things and they've never killed anybody, you can kind of see what type of people they are. I mean, you've heard stories about the way Kubrick treated his cast on set, and it's the same kind of thing here, where you can kind of, it makes sense because he's got Verge saying, being the voice of reason, calling bullshit on every little thing. Every explanation he has for these incidents, and it's almost like he's calling bullshit on himself, but at the same time flipping off the he loved the fact that half the people walked out of the screening. So
I had read something, and this was a big kind of a reach, I guess, that each of the five represent one of the movies that he's made and the way he reacted to the people who were working with him, and he is essentially Jack. And Verge is essentially one of his main collaborators, who's constantly trying to tell him you're being an asshole.
I think maybe. That's not beyond their own possibility. I think Mother is another movie where you can definitely see that in Aronofsky, where it could be the process. It definitely appears, because there's a lot of art involved in this movie, and there's definitely the process of creation that he's constantly trying to build the perfect house. I mean, that's running around on the side with this movie. So I mean, that it's there. I don't know if that's the main thing, but there's so many things there that I don't doubt that that's one of the things he was talking about. This is also, I think, the third movie in that trilogy of American movies he made. Dogville being the first one. I can't remember what the second one is. I haven't seen the second one. And then this one isn't officially the sequel, but it's placed in the same location as Dogville in the other movie, Washington State, I think. He's never been to America, by the way. He's afraid of flying. But he likes making movies about America. I don't know. It's worth checking out, especially if you're into just weird movies. I don't know.
Sold me.
If you guys haven't seen Night of the Virgin yet,
no.
So I don't know if you guys actually know what fucked up is.
Is that something that was on Prime or something like that at the time?
I don't remember exactly where it was when I saw it. I saw it. They sent me a screening link. That's where I saw it.
I think it is on Amazon. I don't know if it's free or not, but it's there. Pretty sure it's there. I mean, it's hard to. I've definitely seen more fucked up things, but I mean, like, it literally brought you to the point of laughter. It's something that was so horrible. Like,
that's kind of like Night of the Virgin.
So and it just kept coming back, and I don't know. I almost feel bad saying that, but I think that's what he was trying to do. It's over the top, but again, I don't know. I'd say kind of Clockwork Orange meets Mother, I guess, if you like either of those two movies, or at least appreciate them. It's worth seeing. Anything else before we move on?
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event for the linear, legitimate, and universally recognized, undisputed classic.
Y tu mama tambien.
Yes, and your mother too, is what it translates to, and that plays out in a scene late in the film. The title is actually almost sort of mentioned. This is a story of a couple of Did you just get it?
No.
Okay.
It just reminded me of the scene, and I wasn't really paying attention.
A couple of teenagers going on a road trip. At a wedding, they meet the wife of a distant relative, and they invite her to go with them because she's kind of toying with them a little bit at the wedding, and they're definitely interested in her. They've got that typical teenage boy way of not being able to hide how they're feeling, trying to act like big men in that moment, and eventually after some things happen, she decides to go with them on this road trip, and along the way, you'll learn through this excellent narration a lot of things about them, their relationship, but also about Mexico and about the politics of the time. And it's just utterly fascinating and beautiful and sexy as hell. This is as weird, awkward as it is. She's amazing. This is one of the great performances of a female actress I've seen in a long time. I remembered at the time loving it, and now seeing it again, I loved it even more. She's just so amazing, and of course, I don't have her name in my head.
Maribel Verdú.
And she's not done much. She's not done much, at least in America. But Diego Luna and Gael Garcia Bernal, just perfect casting. Absolutely brilliantly cast. Is kind of one kid's kind of rich, the other one's kind of middle class. They come at things from a different perspective, and there's always just this hint of tension between them that keeps bubbling up throughout. And that's Cuarón really just does a great job of painting those characters and creating the depth and the differences between them until you reach that closing portion, where they reach this, they're on their way to this beach that they didn't even realize actually existed. And once they get there, some things happen that are really fascinating and really felt like, yeah, that's kind of where this has been building to. That makes sense.
I saw this way back in 2004, 2005, something like that, as a companion piece, I think, with Talk to Her, the Almodovar film, and seeing that one first, and the provocative imagery of that film, and thinking there's got to be something to the way that people are praising the directors that are south of the border or in Spain or whatnot. Their particular visual style has got to be something. And so I sat through this one and thought to myself, this is it's provocative, yes. It's rated NC-17 at the time, so that's a big deal for somebody that's like not seen a lot of NC-17 films. I'm thinking this is going to be one of those things. If nothing else, if I don't like it, lots of nudity, right? Okay. And yes, I was in my 20s at that point. I was basically just a teenager still, very much like both of these two young boys in the film. But what I love about Cuarón is that you mentioned this underlying tension throughout. It's kind of like they love each other, but they can't say it. They just can't. Everything that they have known their entire lives has led them up to must pursue this woman, must dominate each other in order to... That just informs them. Being macho, being full of testosterone. And then they just don't know how to communicate a single thing unless it's physically, unless it's aggressive. And not only does Cuarón do this, but the woman, I forget the character's name. I can tell you the actress's name. But she deconstructs them in her own particular way, and she's constantly in control of the situation throughout the film. Even in her moments of distress, you still feel like she's the one that's got control over the scenes. It was a fascinating flip from most romances, for what it is, that I had ever seen before, and it still continues to be. You don't see many films in which you really get to the bottom of some of the characters' psyches, and the film ends, I think, is the only way that it really can, after what they've just been through. But it stays with you. It's the kind of movie that even though you're reading it, whatnot, and it's not something that you're used to, it really sticks with you. It is something that you should see. And I remember telling myself at the time, please recommend this to people that haven't seen a lot of foreign films. Lead with this. Lead with Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Stuff like that. That's really the top of the foreign language films for me, at least in my life. This is definitely in the top 10, if not top 5.
Yeah, and I contrary to playing the role on the podcast, I actually like foreign films a lot because it's... well, I mean, because you have to read, you have to pay attention. You have to put your phone down. You have to be invested. And I like that these movies do that. At the same time, sometimes they can feel like homework going into them, but once you're there, it's nothing but a breeze. I mean, this movie, I had never seen it. And it was... I couldn't sleep one morning, got up at 4 a.m, came down here, put it on, and watched it. It was, I mean, not really a morning movie, but it still was. But, I forget what time it is. You just you get lost in the movie. It's that powerful. And then you start looking it up and reading more into it. I mean, there wasn't really a script. They just kind of have an idea, and they definitely did that kind of documentary style filmmaking, which worked perfectly for this movie. The performances were so fantastic. The female lead really is the lead of the movie. She controls everything, which you don't always get to see in movies. And when you do get to see it, it's more of in a perverted sexual way as opposed to a powerful... I don't know. It's hard. This movie stands on its own, and the fact that it can't exist in America is kind of ridiculous. It's a road trip movie based in Mexico, which was a neat idea. You don't see that a lot. You're used to the American road trip movies. But on top of that, all this other stuff is just going on underneath the surface. It's not even about the plot. Mm-hmm. And I'm assuming it's intentional, but either way, it doesn't matter. It just captures what's going on in Mexico at that time. And it's, no matter where you go on the road, there's something new just in the background. And it's that alone is fascinating to me. Forget about the movie itself, which is fascinating. It's just a insanely watchable, really good piece of filmmaking.
That wonderful scene where they're stopped on the road and they're asked to pay something to the queen, and it's just this little girl, and this entire village appears to be entirely dedicated to her, and you just pay the toll to pass. It's like, that's such a fascinating scene and such a bizarre, almost it's almost Italian neorealist in a way, and it's so unexpected. And then, of course, the narration. Oftentimes, narration in a movie feels like a cheat. It feels like most narration is oftentimes just there to fill in the gaps of something that they couldn't afford to film, or something that just the script fucked up and couldn't communicate with the characters. And that's not this at all. This is as esoteric as it can be at times. It's brilliant. It's brilliantly crafted.
This just came into my mind right now. Is when you said the word Italian, I was thinking of the deconstruction of the man on film. And is it 8.5 that I'm thinking of?
Fellini, yeah, that's what I was trying to think of. Yeah.
Okay. That instantly came into my head of the same type of feeling walking away from the movie. And to really get to the bottom of masculinity, you really have to challenge it. Characters really have to go through something and experience something. And there's some similarities between the two films in that way. Interesting.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know if it's still on Netflix. Part of the reason I got up so early to watch it was because it was like the 31st, and I know in February they switched things out. I wanted to make sure I got to see it for free. Not for free, but for my Netflix subscription. But I can't recommend it enough. I mean, obviously it's critically acclaimed and one of the best movies of the generation.
In reading Ebert's review of this one again, and reading a little bit more about the film in general, the fact that it's NC-17 was a bit of a controversy. And I can understand why, because does it really deserve an NC-17? In my opinion, is a no. If other films can be considered rated R, we could throw a lot of things out of the hat. But in this particular case, I don't think a single moment of it is exploitative. I just think that it's real, and I think it scared the MPA into wanting to make it something more provocative than it actually was. Sure, it's sexy, but we're not talking about hide your kids, hide your wife type of exploitation here. We're talking about nudity and rawness and emotion, as opposed to skin. Just skin as a method of showing you something, because we can go rent that if we want. Or why would we rent that? It's there for you.
Right. No, I mean, I had that same question myself. One, I think everybody can agree that MPAA is stupid, and
yeah.
But then two, it's just like, it's really graphic. I mean, they really, but at the same time, it's not exploitative. But at the same time, it's really graphic. So where do you? I don't know. To me, it shouldn't matter. It's something that's in America. And even we do it, whether we want to admit it or not. But I think it's just the way our culture handles. We sexualize everything, even when we're trying not to. I do my best to not do it, but it's impossible. I sexualize hugs, and I hate that. I don't like hugging people, because I think I said that on the podcast before. I can't not. I don't know. So it's just, I think it's a culture thing, personally. Anything else? Or
it's a wonderful film.
Absolutely see it.
Especially if it's on Netflix.
Since this is Aunt Bethany's 80th Christmas, I think she should lead us in the saying of grace.
What, dear? Grace! Grace! She passed away 30 years ago.
3 movies this week?
3 movies. I'll start with the one that I could never pronounce as a kid. Kinjite, Forbidden Subjects, starring Charles Bronson. I finally got it right, I think. I'm guessing.
E2 Mama Tambien, starring Charles Bronson. It's like a really cool title. And then
right. But I don't know what this film is really about. It's got Charles Bronson in it, which tells me probably all that I need to know. And I didn't watch it this week.
My guess is he goes around shooting people.
Yes. Someone either killed his partner, or he's going to save a Vietnam buddy. Yeah, there's something nefarious going on, and he's going to set things right. He's the righteous one in this equation. Good for him. Yeah, good for Charles Bronson. One that I wanted to watch, and as it turns out, it wasn't available for some reason. Tom Selleck had a birthday this week, and my dad apparently...
Sean Patrick.
Yeah! Completely not on my mind right now. I'm sorry. Feliz cumpleaños, señor. Okay. So, Tom Selleck had a birthday. My father, growing up, I always wondered why he modeled his entire wardrobe and look after Tom Selleck. And if you saw some pictures of him, you could see the likeness. But there are a lot of Tom Selleck films that I haven't seen for good reason. They're probably very bad, or they were direct-to-video, what have you. Her Alibi is one of those that got into the theater, and it stars him and Paulina Porizkova. Porizkova. Okay, thank you. And I remember she was a model.
Sports Illustrated.
Yeah, the swimsuit.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. And it has something to do with her either being a killer or not being a killer, and him trying to help her out. To me, as a kid, it was marketed as a comedy of sorts, but as an adult, I was looking at it as maybe a dark type of comedy. It might not be a comedy at all, but I can tell you that it's not available to stream on Amazon or Hulu or Netflix or anything right now.
It's a romantic comedy.
Okay.
And throughout, there's a lot of misunderstandings over whether or not she might have killed her husband. And he's hired as a writer, I believe, to write a story about her. Somehow, I think that's how that goes. And she keeps almost kind of putting him in a position where she's looking like she might kill him. And it's kind of throwing him off either way, whether or not he thinks she actually did it.
Now, that'll really ramp up the sexual tension. If you think you're going to die at any moment, then yeah.
It's on YouTube.
What? Are you serious?
You gotta rent it on YouTube for $3, but it is on YouTube. Every time you do that, you know that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to run the computer just
I'll have to amend my statement to say I didn't find it.
You never check YouTube.
No, I didn't look very hard, did I? But one that I did watch, though, and it is available for free through the IMDb firm. There's some kind of new program that IMDb has, and it starts with an F. It's not firmware, but it's like the same amount of letters. And it starts with an F and ends with an E, I think. But
Filmwave? No.
It's something like that. Bob's about to tell us, of course. So I'll introduce... What's it called?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. The movie's called Who's Harry Crumb, and it stars John Candy. It seems to be something of a private investigator spoof of sorts. In many ways, it is just that, a spoof. But I had a hard time getting through this one. There are certain moments that John Candy is his normal ebullient self, and I enjoyed that part of it. But the rest of it is him trying to be a leading man, and that can work, but it doesn't always work. I found myself bored a lot of the time and wishing that he'd collaborated with like Pat Proft or the Zucker brothers or something for a really good spoof of a private detective. But I at least did watch it, and it is free.
I loved this movie as a kid. I watched it 10, 15 times. John Candy, that was my jam as a kid. And his character is the worst private detective at the agency that has his name on it, and he's hired to do this case because they figure he'll screw it up enough that the main bad guy can get away with it. And it turns out he actually happens upon a friendship with the youngest daughter of the woman who's been kidnapped, and she's going to be his partner throughout, and it becomes almost like Inspector Gadget, but with like him dressing up in various different costumes and just horribly racist costumes at time, and just these terrible, unbelievable costumes that he is just absolutely pulling off beautifully. I enjoy this movie still. It's nostalgia glasses, but
that's fair. If coming in for the first time at age 39 is probably not the right way to go, but if as a kid I can understand that would be fun.
I saw it later as well in life, and I found it boring too.
The one part that I did really enjoy, though, he's supposed to make this phone call, okay, and he gets himself somehow, I don't know, I was thinking of the physics of it, he's in a phone booth, and he gets stuck, but I wondered how he ever got in there in the first place. It was making me uncomfortable just watching it, because I hate being stuck like that, you know? That part is funny, and also when Jeffrey Jones shows up, you know that he's going to be the bad guy, because Jeffrey Jones is always a bad guy or a creepy dude or whatever.
A lot of it is fat guy falls down. It's funny.
Yeah, sure. The young girl, the Penny to his Inspector Gadget, is Saw veteran Shawnee Smith.
And she's a lot of fun. I liked her a lot.
Freedive?
Yeah! IMDb Freedive. See, it started with an F, ended with an E.
And the same amount of letters.
And it's a new thing that I hadn't heard of before, but I typed in the title of the film. It came up with Watch Now Free with IMDb Freedive. So it's a little app you can put on your TV or Fire Stick or PlayStation or what have you.
Ooh, it's got Drive on there. You watched the wrong movie.
Well, Drive hasn't turned 30 yet, so that's the only reason why.
Has it turned 10 yet? Right around there, probably.
Right around. But that's it for 1989. It's slowly but surely getting a little better as we emerge into February.
Sorry, I'm just looking at the movies on Freedive.
It was a nice, pleasant surprise to see not only that Who's Harry Crumb was available, but watch it right now if you'd like. Because a lot of the times you get onto something and it says watch free with a 7-day trial, or download this very obscure horror channel to watch this.
Blind Fury's on there.
Blind Fury, starring Rutger Hauer.
Battlefield Earth.
You should only be able to watch that for free.
Yeah, I'm sure that's... I guess unplugged my phone, so bear with me. I guess I could have talked while I...
It was much more fun to make it awkward.
All right, well, that is a show.
The awkward part.
Next week, Cold Pursuit, Lego 2, The Prodigy. They're two different movies. And What Men Want. It's going to be a great week in movies. Because of that, our classic is going to be our whatever, what are we calling it? Lost movies? Or
yeah, I can't remember what we were calling it. I came up with a great one on one of the other shows, and now I can't remember what it was.
You didn't write it down. A Boy and His Dog's Purpose.
Stop it, you've given them another title.
Starring, what's his name?
Don Johnson.
That's an almost guy. I thought he would be in it too. Who's in The Dog's Purpose? Or was that The Dog's Way Home?
Dennis Quaid? Is that what you're thinking?
Edward Olmos. Who's the guy who died in it?
Oh, yeah, Edward James Olmos, yeah.
Never mind. Remember the dog was handcuffed to him and he died and tried to kill the dog with it.
What?
It was like 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
Did I watch it?
No, but he described it on the show and you remember everything. So I'm shocked.
Oh, that's when I made the Edward James almost doesn't count joke. Yeah.
He remembered his joke.
See, that's the problem. It's not that I'm not listening. It's that I'm setting up my next pun. Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't read your Super Bowl pun. I saw it and I was like, nope, I'm not even gonna laugh.
Oh, Goodwill Punting?
Punting, yeah.
Well, after the 8th punt in a row, you just get a little punchy.
That is our show. Like I said, what we have next week. What else is there? iTunes Google Play, Spotify, all your other podcatchers. Was there something you wanted to talk about, Josh? Now that I'm...
Indeed. It would have fit better in the news, but I didn't speak up. Do you mind if I include it now?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I sold something to a guy online, and I usually... will briefly check out their profile to make sure they're not a creeper or, that I should fear for my life if something goes wrong or whatever the case may be. It gives you just a cursory idea of who they're about. And as it turns out, this gentleman was involved in a nonprofit that caught my eye immediately. It's called Real Outreach. Real spelled R-E-E-L. Yeah. You're following me now. I'm already hooked. But what it does, it's set in Texas, so it's not like a local thing, but the guy fronts a group that provides opportunities to go to the theater for kids that don't otherwise get to go to the theater. And I take that, it immediately hit me how much I take that for granted, how I've been able to just take my boy whenever. There have been times when maybe I shouldn't have gone to the theater and paid for it or whatnot, but I've always taken him for whatever it is that I've wanted to see. I've wanted him to see, et cetera, et cetera. And I hate the thought that there are kids out there, a potential wonderful mind like a Cuarón or a Kubrick or whatever, that would be influenced by being at the theater and actually feeling the same kind of, dare I say, magic that I used to feel when I was younger. So it's something that I kind of feel is pretty awesome, and I wanted to make sure that at least we mentioned it. We've talked about, other charities in the past or whatnot. So if any of our listeners are in the Texas area, or for that matter, anywhere around, and you're bored with giving us your funds, then maybe you could redirect it to somebody. No, I'm
or
just
if you
kidding.
just want to give more.
Yeah, just give more. Yeah, obviously.
And who knows?
I'm a terrible marketer. I'm like, give us your money,
me money. Give it
if
to
you
them.
feel like it. If the mood strikes you.
You should give it to other podcasts. I mean...
Well, no other podcasts.
No, I mean, you're right. There might be another Lars von Trier out there, and he might never get to see a movie. No, I'm glad he exists. I enjoyed the house that Jack built. I said next week already, our Patreon supporters. If you want to be a Patreon supporter, head over to ihatecritics.net/Patreon. We'll start with our key grip level in Jason Bryant and Charlie Messing. Our character actor is Josh Paul, Christina Cato, and Cousin Jeff.
I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
Our special effects level, Corey from IVNV and Sarah Morrell.
That's right.
May the Force be with you.
Our associate producer, Jason Mollett.
Everybody has to eat shaving cream once in a while.
And our movie stars, Uncle Jeff and Dave Sievers.
I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
And again, if you want to be a Patreon supporter, ihatecritics.net/Patreon is the best way to help support the podcast. There's also a PayPal link on our ihatecritics.net, along with our podcast merch if you want a t-shirt or a pillow or a bag or whatever else. Dong. I don't think TeePublic sells those, but if they do, I'll be the first in line.
But you could always make a shirt into a thong if you were so inclined.
Yes. You could. Probably make a pillow into a thong if you really wanted to.
Yeah. Anything's a thong if you try hard enough.
But yeah, if you want any of our merch, it's there. Otherwise, we'll see you next week.
That ought to do it. Thanks very much, Ray.
And we're the three best friends that anybody could have. We're the three best friends that anyone could have. We're the three best friends that anyone can have. And we'll never, ever, 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 ever leave each other. We're the best three friends that anybody can have. I mean the three best friends that anybody can have. That's right, the three best friends.
Interstellar, Harry Potter, and the Deathly Hallows Part 2.
It's Harry Potter.
You were my one chance, man.
You like Harry Potter, though.
I do, but I like Interstellar more.
Okay. District 9 or Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas?
Fear and Loathing.
District 9.
Go District 9. Mystic River or The Karate Kid with Ralph Macchio?
Mystic River.
As good as Mystic River is, Karate Kid.
Mystic River. What's Eating Gilbert Grape or Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon?
Crouching Tiger.
Agreed.
The Cat Returns, 2002, or True Romance?
No idea what The Cat Returns is.
Oh, that's got like a another title to it. It's like something : The Cat Returns.
I think it's a foreign film, whatever it was. So
yeah, it's like a... yeah.
Nacho Libre or True Romance?
True Romance.
Taco Romance.
Isn't The Cat Returns a Miyazaki movie?
I don't know.
Okay, anyways, what was the other choice?
True Romance.
True Romance
or,
it is.
Nacho Libre.
Yeah.
Zombieland or Starship Troopers?
Zombieland.
The Lost Boys, 87, or The Notebook?
The Notebook.
Notebook.
I'd probably go Lost Boys. Secondhand Lions, I have not seen that. Or Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows 2?
Harry Potter.
Harry Potter.
I'm assuming. Hancock or American Psycho?
American Psycho.
Agreed.
A Few Good Men or The Great Dictator? I haven't seen The Great Dictator.
I mean, I love The Great Dictator, but it's kind of a one-scene movie in some ways. Few Good Men.
Is that Buster Keaton?
Charlie Chaplin.
Charlie Chaplin. Yeah, I haven't seen it. I was confusing that with The Dictator, the Sacha Baron Cohen movie, but okay.
Maybe we should maybe take that one out, since I'm the only one who saw it.
I just gave Few Good Men the win. V for Vendetta, The Aristocrats. I mean, I don't know how long it takes to load these things, and it's not the... yeah, this is a cartoon, the 1970 cartoon, not the documentary, by the way.
The Aristocats, then.
Was it? Oh, I thought I saw it.
Everybody wants to be a cat.
My eyes aren't good, and I have glasses on. I need to clean my screen.
Oh, sorry, what was the first one again?
V for Vendetta.
Yeah, V for Vendetta.
I'll go with the Aristocats.
I'll go with V for Vendetta. Hunger Games, The Italian Job.
Which Italian Job?
03.
Hunger Games.
Hunger Games.
A Bug's Life, Rain Man.
A Bug's Life. Fuck Rain Man.
Rain Man it is.
Rain Man. Smart People, 08, another movie I don't know what that is. Or The Fifth Element.
Have you seen Smart People?
I have not. I confused that one with Funny People, which is one you guys have seen and I have not either.
Dead Poet Society or The Fifth Element.
Oh, man, I love Fifth Element, but it's Dead Poet Society.
Agreed.
I agree. Black Hawk Down, Lost in Space.
Black Hawk Down.
Yeah, Black Hawk Down. Even the half of the movie that I saw is better than Lost in Space. Lost in Space is one of 3 films that I've fallen asleep in the theater to.
Isn't that the movie that knocked Titanic out of #1?
It makes sense. It was December of 97 to April of 98, yeah.
Fucking people. That movie did not need to be #1 for that one.
It was either that or Species 2, which came out the same weekend. I saw those 2 in the same day together.
Wow.
Why? I saw Species 2 and it came to video, and I didn't see the other one.
Have you met me?
The Lion King or The People That Time Forgot, 1977. I have not seen that.
No, not either.
The Lion King or Brokeback Mountain.
Yeah, I was all set to go Lion King, but I gotta take Brokeback.
Yeah, Lion King's in my top 25, so no escaping that.
I think I'd go Lion King as well, but I mean, obviously Brokeback's really good. Blazing Saddles, Emperor's New Groove. Fuck that. I'm gonna get rid of that. Flight.
It's Blazing Saddles.
I have yet to see Flight, so you guys probably know this one.
Blazing Saddles. Amadeus or Anaconda.
Amadeus.
Amadeus. You say Amadeus, then I say Amadeus.
Van Helsing or Doubt?
Doubt.
Doubt.
Casablanca or Clueless?
Casablanca.
Casablanca.
A History of Violence, A Life Less Ordinary.
A History of Violence.
History of Violence.
Raising Arizona or Christmas Vacation?
Raising Arizona.
This is the first legitimately difficult one for me. Yeah, jeez. It's Raising Arizona by a very small margin for me.
Yeah. Star Trek Into the Darkness, The Longest Yard, 1974.
Star Trek.
Star Trek.
Longest Yard. Man, I don't mind Star Trek. The Wedding Singer or Zack and Mary Make a Porno?
Zack and Mary.
Zack and Mary.
I agree. Rocky 3 or Tropic Thunder?
Tropic Thunder.
Rocky 3.
God damn it. I was all set to pick Tropic Thunder. I'll go Rocky 3. Escape from New York, Indiana Jones in the refrigerator or whatever it is.
That was realistic.
Escape from New York.
Escape from New York.
Good. Shrek 2 or Beetlejuice?
I don't know. Fishing with Gandhi.
All right, we're going with I can choose freely now. Choose Shrek 2.
Wow. I do have a soft spot for Shrek. I'll go ahead and go with that. City of God, The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring.
I love City of God. That movie's amazing.
Yeah, I still haven't seen it. Is that in Portuguese?
I believe so, yes.
Billy Madison or The Game?
The Game.
The Game.
Mary Poppins or Brokeback Mountain?
The original Mary Poppins? Oh, yeah, obviously. Brokeback Mountain.
Brokeback Mountain.
I agree. National Treasure, Book of Secrets, Twins.
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 Swordfish or Serenity?
Serenity.
Serenity.
The Others or Hellboy 2?
The Others.
Swordfish.
Yeah, I know.
I went with The Others.
The Others.
I still need to see Hellboy 2. Or Hellboy, for that matter. 1 Hour Photo or Meet the Parents?
1 Hour Photo.
1 Hour Photo.
Easy A or V for Vendetta?
Easy A.
Yeah, that's one I still haven't seen.
It's Easy A. After.Life or Airplane? I don't know what
Afterlife has Liam Neeson, Justin Long, and it's Katie Holmes, I think.
I don't remember it at all.
But Airplane is the choice.
Just assume it's Airplane.
All right.
Jesus Christ, there's so many movies I've never even heard of. I Can Do Bad All By Myself, 2009.
I think that's a Medea movie.
Or The Breakup.
I would have to go with The Breakup.
Yeah. I've actually seen that one.
Ghost or When Harry Met Sally? That's a good one to end on. 89 versus 90.
It's When Harry Met Sally.
I need to rewatch Ghost pretty badly, but...
We're going to soon.
Yeah, I'll take Ghost.
For recency bias, When Harry Met Sally.